Hi guys, welcome to the episode. My guest today is a fitness guru and the founder of Power4ALL Nutrition, Ryan Schwartz.
It's time to high five and fist bump. A Jiu Jitsu podcast for the everyday grappler. Let's talk subs. Let's talk positions. Let's talk dominating the mats. Welcome to the Let's Talk Jiu Jitsu podcast with Raymond Terrence.
Power4ALL is a Montreal-based company that sells nothing but the best when it comes to supplements and products. Delicious protein bars with 21 grams of protein using honey as sweetener and top-quality whey protein. They have an amazing protein shake powder that has 27 grams of protein per scoop, 1 gram of carbs, and just 1 gram of fat. Maybe you're looking for creatine monohydrate, which I personally take daily. They've got you covered. Made in a Canadian laboratory and Health Canada inspected, you are getting the highest quality products, all based here in Montreal, Canada, at an amazing and affordable price. Guess what? It's all delivered to your front door. Go visit them at power4all.com today.
Do it.
Thanks for coming, Ryan.
Pleasure, buddy. Good to see you.
So, what's new? So, you used to do jiu-jitsu with us, right? Or you're taking a break.
We call this in the Jewish religion a long sabbatical.
A long sabbatical.
So it's been a busy couple of years. Businesses have changed. I started a nutrition coaching company, personal training, and a protein bar now, which has turned into a supplement and protein powder company, which is growing as well. So it's been interesting. It's been cool. It's been like a learning on the job type of thing, and it's taken up all my time. So I haven't been able to come back.
No,
I went from one class and I couldn't get back again.
It was rough, eh? Yeah, when you have so many things going on in your life, again, you have to prioritize things, and eventually things might get a little easier, and then you have a little bit more time. But
exactly.
So what were you doing for work before you got into the whole health space, or were you already in there or had an interest? Or
I was in a family business for a long time. It sold, and they went into a different direction, basically. So I was in my late 30s in a position to start over. So I had got I was a full-time job, but I was always passionate about health. I was actually in Men's Health magazine last year. Mm-hmm. My story goes back to the early 2000s as like an obese kid. Nearly 300 pounds, just super depressed, not talking about my emotions. It was a different time, now like
right.
It's sort of opening up the conversation a little bit, but I was this like depressed late teen, early 20-year-old kid that was just trying to fit in, had this nickname Beef, and instead of like, going and doing what I know I should have done at the time was like getting myself healthy, I sort of took the name on and became this like larger than life character that everybody had put me into. So I gained from like 16 to 20, like over 100 pounds. I went from like 150 to almost 300, doing all the same stupid like teen and kid stuff too, drinking, smoking, drugs, and just it was a tailspin. And one night I was actually in a university fraternity, which again, shouldn't have joined, but I was just following the crowd. This is not my thing. I'm much more of like an introvert and a quiet guy. And, we had finished up some activity. We were like in a garage. It was very smoky and hazy. And I went outside and I was walking just to get some air. And the next thing I realized, it was like maybe a minute or two. It felt like a minute or two later, but I was on my back, out cold, looking up at the sea, like at stars at the time. And I just saw black. And I was like, okay, either I'm dead or this is a signal or a sign from somewhere else that you need to make a really big change right now. So I got up. I just decided at that moment, like everything stops now. So I grabbed my bag, I grabbed my car keys, I got in my car, I didn't say goodbye to anybody, and I just left. And the next day, again, 2002 here, there's no information. So I called my buddy who was in pre-med at the time, and I was like, dude, I need to lose a lot of weight and I need to start now. What do I do? And he was like, just eat 1,500 calories a day every single day, move your body, and be patient. So
sounds easy enough.
Yeah, on paper it's easy enough.
Right.
Put it into practice, it's not
Different
easy enough.
story, right?
But the way that I do things is it's an all or nothing. So went to Bureau en Gros, got a 360-page notebook, and everything I ate went into the notebook. Every workout I did went into the notebook. And this was like this building of this, I call it like a building of a savage, but it was so brutal because I still had this thought in the back of my mind that I was like athletic. So it's like, and similar to the Goggins story, I don't know if anybody has heard it, I was like, okay, I'm going to start running, I'm going to start lifting. So the lifting I was able to do because you could take like humongous breaks in between the sets.
Yeah.
But I had got my shoes on, I was living in my parents' house, I was trying to run like, I don't even know, like 20 minutes. I got to the first stop sign and I just fell over. I was like, holy shit.
No cardio.
No cardio. Like, this is like, so I got up and it's literally like in the same situation, walked back home, cried, and I was like, I can't do this. And then something just kept telling me, you got to go again. So my goal then became every single time that I would do it, I would try to get another block. So I went 1 stop sign. The next day I was able to get 2. And eventually this turned into the ability, when the weight had come off, I went down from about 285 to 150. Shockingly, didn't weigh myself once the entire 18 months that this took.
Okay.
Now I'm running 5K, 10K, no problem. And I just decided one day to go and do this 21 kilometer half marathon with really no training more than like in 10K.
Right.
And this is 2006 now, and I'm like terrified. I wake up in the morning, I have my MP3 player, so I'm really dating myself, and it is a torrential downpour. And this was that character builder for me, because I looked outside, I was like, I'll just do one in 2 weeks. And again, that voice comes in again and goes, no, now. This is where what you need, this is what is going to build you. And I remember I went and I ran this 21K, I think in an hour and 50 minutes, which is reasonable time. It was just torture. It was freezing cold. It was pouring rain the whole time. My MP3 player threw it into the forest halfway. The headphones shorted out. And it was like this near 2-hour mission alone, going like, you're either doing this or you're not.
Yeah.
And this was like the baptism by fire for me. And that's where everything sort of changed. So I can get into the other stuff afterwards, but if anybody knows how I am, I'm very intense. I'm very hard on myself. And if people tell me that I can't do something, I will find a way to do it. In the same way that a couple of years back, actually, when I was still training in Jiu Jitsu, we were running the mountain in the West Island, and they were like, do you think you can run it 100 times? And I was like, I guess. And like, we were going and we were dead after 20.
Right.
So again, I show up typically non-intelligent. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. It's already 35 degrees with like a bottle of water and a crappy Quest bar. And the guys are looking at me. They're like, what do you don't have any fuel? You don't have any water? I'm like, I'll be okay. So thankfully Jesse shows up with like huge Gatorades and a bunch of granola bars. I didn't even realize. So I turned my watch on. 4.5 hours later and 26 kilometers up and down this mountain, I'm done and I'm dead. And again, we get to the 97th descent and my legs are gone. They give out. So I'm on the floor. One of the girls who used to train Dom at Jiu Jitsu, she's I think she was a physio or a massage, and she's massaging my leg, and she's like, they're pretty badly seized up. I don't think you can continue. So I just got up and they were like, we're going to run behind you in case. I'm like, stay away from me. If I have to crawl up the hill for the last 3, I don't want anyone touching me. And again, something snapped. I started running, and then I ended up sprinting like 3 or 4 extras afterwards just to prove a point to myself that like, the brain tells you pain, but like you can push past a lot of these things as long as you're willing to. And this translates for me to everything. It translates to jiu-jitsu. It translates to business. It translates to parenting. I guess
it could be good and bad at the same time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Because I did the same. Well, I did something real dumb before COVID. I decided I wanted to sign up to a half marathon. No cardio. I don't run. It was very similar where I would do like 2 laps around the track or even 1, and I'm done. I'm dead. I was like, I could do a half marathon. In my head, I'm like, I could do a half marathon. That's easy. So I signed up for the Point Claire half marathon.
Yeah.
And I filled, those like water backpacks?
Camelback.
Yeah, those. I filled it with Gatorade, thinking that as I run, I'll be hydrated because I'll have a backpack full of Gatorade, not thinking that I'm carrying like an extra 20 pounds of Gatorade on my back, right? Crappy running shoes, but I was like, I'll be fine. There was like 500 people, I want to say, that were running in the half marathon.
Yeah.
I came 5th from last. I did it in like over 3 hours.
Yeah.
It took me.
It's a torture
and to the point where there was a crowd at the finish line. They were waiting for the next like event to come back and finish when I was just finishing the first one, and they were all confused. Like all the people were standing there. I'm just like a solo guy, just like trying to like make it to the finish line. And then for the next like 3 weeks afterwards, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do jiu-jitsu, I couldn't do anything. It was probably a really dumb move. I could say I did it, but it was just to show you that like I have a similar mentality that if I want to do something, I go all in, like 110% all the time. And like I was saying, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. I've learned with age to kind of take a moment before I commit myself that far and be like, am I what I know my head's telling me I want to do this, but like, is it the smartest thing to do right now?
I'm not 25 anymore.
Yeah.
But what I've managed to figure out now, and I mean, this character comes out, and I know when my brain is going to that place, and I know if I'm going to be able to pull it back, and I know if I'm not. So the last time other than the mountain that had happened actually was when we were at the Jiu Jitsu competition. This is coming off of that injury that I had that, again, was supposed to take me. It was a similar situation. It was supposed to take me a year to heal, and I was competing 3 months later. Is that I got to the competition. The guy you were there. The guy I was fighting against knew I was still injured. And I remember walking up to the mats. First of all, back then we weren't drilling takedowns. We were always starting at the beginning of the class on our knees. So I have no takedown capabilities whatsoever. And I just hear his coach go, "Il est blessé. He's injured. He's injured." And something snapped. So I'm in the takedown position, like I'm grabbing his collar and his sleeve, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to be as patient as I can, and I'm going to get in this guy's head. Because I know he's a white belt, but I can see he's got stripes on his belt. He's very fancy. But if I can break his mentality, I can make him lose. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I had like a little bit of a top half guard game there, and like I'm very strong. He was even bigger than me. So I just waited, and he was pulling and pulling and pulling, and I'm like, I'm gonna frustrate him. And he goes, I hear his coach keep going, he's injured. So I just go pull guard and press on it. Pull guard and press on it. It's right here. So the injury is right here. My groin is still partially torn. Press on it. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I knew the second that he pulled guard, I had him. Because I was just going to do, I knew he wasn't going to sweep me. Like, I'm very strong against another white belt on top. I can hold my position. So I'm waiting, and I'm just literally like doing the regular like guard pass, picking him up, trying to push the knee down, tiring him out because I know he's going to be hanging on. And eventually I just look in his eyes. I go, you going to push on it ever? Or you want to just sit here and keep talking? Your coach keeps saying I'm injured. Push on it. So he opens up his leg to push on it. And I knew right there I have him. So I broke him. And I could see his eyes went. And then I got into half guard. And I just drove that shoulder into his chin trying to pass the half guard. And it was over from there. Like, I fought him a second time. And he was just there. It was like fighting a limp noodle. He knew. It was like, so it's getting myself into that mindset and that headspace where I go like, okay, I'm going away right now. Even my wife and my kids were there because my kid was competing earlier, and my wife's like, it was 3 hours later, she's like, should I stay? I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea. She's like, why? We want to watch you. And I didn't even have the ability to verbalize to her that like, I'm going into this place and I know it's coming. I don't want you guys to see this. So she took my kids home. I mean, in hindsight, it would have been cool for my kids to see me like watch and win a tournament, but I got into this headspace and I was like, okay, like I know this is going to get ugly. I might start cursing at him. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. And I can remember like I had picked him up at one point and I was going to slam him on his head. And you and Fred are just like in the back with your hands. You're like, put him down like a pillow, calm, gentle. You're yelling at me.
Because that's what happens with white belts, right? White belts will pick people up and they won't realize it and they'll fall down to their knees and then they'll consider it a slam and then you're DQ'd and that's it, right? We spend a lot of time yelling at white belts and being like, gentle.
So I was like, okay, sir, please, I'll put you back down delicately and just pick you up again. So I did a set of 15 deadlifts with the guy. And I passed this guard. But
so then you were working your full-time job. And at what point when you were working your full-time job did you decide like, I need out of this, like I need to do something else?
5 minutes in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was a very uncomfortable position for me because I went from working in a comfortable job, making a good living, and all of a sudden I had to get a job. So I had to go and either start looking or go like, look, I know I have friends with businesses and I know I have skills and abilities that can help to build a business because I built a family business, not from scratch, but we did help grow it quite a bit. But it was just such a humbling thing for me to go up to a friend of mine and be like, look, I need to speak to you. Like, you know, I'm starting over. Is there anything that you can do for me? I'll do whatever you want. I'll sweep the floor. I don't care. And he was just so kind. He was like, how much money do you need? And I told him, and he's like, we can give you more, like a little bit more than that. He's like, get you on your feet. And it was very transparent through the whole thing. I was like, look, when I'm able to, I want to transition to 3 days a week. And then at the end, I was doing 2 days a week, but my goal really was to be able to put away enough money doing personal training in the mornings and in the evenings to be able to transition into doing the protein stuff and the personal training full time, which I waited too long, but that's me. I mean, I have a family, I've got kids.
You needed a security blanket.
I needed some security. So I stayed there for 2 years and a few months. I probably should have left after a year and a half, but I learned a lot while I was there too, about some things about how to grow a business, some things about what I would change about a business. But I also learned about myself, being able to put the emotions aside and go into a job that the guys there were great, like the staff there was great. But what you see a lot of the times when you go into these businesses is like you walk in and you ask someone how they're going and they're like, it's Monday. And I'm like, and I'm an energy guy. So I'm like, even though I'm not enjoying myself there all the time, like I'm happy, I'm trying to stay positive, I'm upbeat, like I'm walking around, I'm like high-fiving the customers, like trying to keep the energy up. And then like as the week gets closer to the end, they're like, oh, it's Friday. It's like, so you come in to do what you're doing for the majority of your life and you're so miserable, but at the end of the, so it's like, I'm sitting here going like, what am I doing?
Most people hate what they do, right? I again, I don't know what the stats are, but I assume that, well, again, that's what I've been doing for many years, right? Going in and doing restructuring in companies and whatnot. And you see it, it's just very repetitive from one place to another. The large percentage of people are really they're just waiting for something else to come up so they can just get up and leave. You could tell that they're not passionate about what they're doing. And then you have the other people that are actually enjoy their work. It's not their passion,
right?
But you got to find a way to earn a living, and they get stimulated by things outside of work. You know what I mean? So they'll have hobbies and they'll have activities and they'll have friends. So they might not need that from Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5. They just want to go to a place where they could be somewhat happy, go through the day, socialize with people, make some money, have a few challenges along the way. But you could tell that's not what their true passion is, but that's okay if you've got other things going on outside of work, right?
Yeah.
So
I find actually though that a lot of people don't. So what I'm seeing a lot of now is a lot of people, and a lot of people are working in jobs that they don't love, but they're earning really, really well. But you can see when they get home afterwards, it's start drinking, sit on the couch and watch Netflix, sit on your phone and ignore your family, which again, I mean, everybody's guilty of that sometimes because you can get lost, myself included, in doing these things. But I think as men, which is why I really miss jiu-jitsu, is there was that camaraderie part of it, which for me was more than the jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu was great, but it was like you get to go, it's like a boys club. Everybody, you're learning from each other, you're laughing, if you hurt each other, like everybody really genuinely cares about each other. And that is something that I find in men that is very, very lacking. I find a lot of people that I know or that I hear of, or they use alcohol a lot to have fun, but in the reality, it's nobody drinks to excess because they're enjoying themselves. It's a numbing agent. Any of these things are numbing agents. The drugs are numbing agents, because it's so difficult to say like, I'm not doing something I love, or I'm anxious, or I'm depressed. So man, I'm actually speaking on this in a couple of weeks. The way that when we don't have an outlet like you guys do and I do in the gym right now, is we're angry all the time. So guys will walk around like they're always pissed off.
And they'll take it out on everybody else.
And they take it out on everybody else, because we just, instead of saying like, this is shit, my day sucks, I hate my job, I hate my life, whatever it may be, it doesn't really make a difference. We just take that ball and we push it. And we keep it underneath the water, and eventually it blasts out of the water, and we just lash out on, and it's usually on the people that we love. It's usually on our wife, on our kids, on our parents, on our friends, on anybody who just does something that like, like
just triggers
the wires cross and then boom. So that's why I find like stuff like jiu-jitsu and lifting weights, we're able to be like primal and physical and use our bodies, because I think we're really designed to do this, is so important for guys to do, which is why even people with young kids, they're like, what should I do? I'm like, put your kids in jiu-jitsu. Like I'm trying to get my kids to go back. I'm just like, I get like nostalgic when I go in there. So I'm like, can I do the kids class?
And that's what most jiu-jitsu guys say. People that I have on, it's when we talk about jiu-jitsu and why they're doing it and why they go, they all say the same thing. Jiu-jitsu is great. Technique's great. I'm learning something new. But most of the time I'm there because it's the social aspect that I appreciate the most, right? It's the talking with the guys after class and just getting to know new people, because that whole physical interaction doesn't happen like it used to in the 80s and 90s, right? Now everyone's interacting online. They're not interacting in person anymore. So jiu-jitsu's giving the opportunity to all these men and women who, typically don't hang out with a big group of friends. They do it at jiu-jitsu. And then when they're not at jiu-jitsu, then you just run your normal life, basically.
Exactly. And what I really find cool about it too is it's a solo sport, but it's sort of not, because it's like you have the team aspect of it.
Yeah, you can't excel at jiu-jitsu alone. It's impossible. You have to have a training partner. Like, good luck arm barring the invisible man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Even
like
with the dummy or whatever it is, it's not the same.
No.
And then when you do that, you'll start to have the little groups start. You're getting messages like, I screwed this up. Where could I do better here?
Yeah.
Oh, come to my house. I have mats in the basement. Like, people will tell. Like, I was talking to a guy the other week, and he was like, dude, you haven't been to jiu-jitsu in 2 years. He goes, come to my house at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. We'll put the mats in the basement. We'll have food, and I'm like, you don't see this anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, so I really feel that that's something that I'm missing right now, and I'm hoping to be able to figure out a way to get a little piece of it back.
Yeah, I was talking to Onig yesterday that I had on the podcast, and we were talking about the gym and, what I've been doing in the gym. And, I was being honest with him. I was like, I really just go to the gym to use the sauna. And because I'm there, I go to the weight room upstairs and I lift and I do some things, but it's really not structured. Right. Not because I can, I just kind of choose not to. I have other priorities, but since I'm there, I'm still going to work out, which is, I probably need to have it a little bit more structured. But, going to the gym is much different than, example, participating in a soccer game or going to jiu-jitsu, or, you're alone at the gym. Unless you've got a training buddy, right, who's going to the gym with you and you guys are meeting there or going together. The gym you're all alone. Most of the time you have your AirPods in, you're listening to music or a podcast and you're just lifting. That's not for everybody. Some people, and maybe, I think a lot of people go down that hole when it comes to gyms, where they maybe used to play sports before COVID, and then COVID hit. They got used to doing a lot of things by themselves, and then thought that maybe it was the norm. Right. And then when kind of that stopped and everyone got back to a somewhat normal life, they continued that little bubble. Yeah. For example, going to the gym and being alone. Right? Yep. Why should I go spend $130 at jiu-jitsu when I could spend $50 and get a gym membership? Exactly. And even though you're getting two completely different experiences, COVID kind of kept people in that little dark bubble by themselves, right?
And it's still, I mean, you're still seeing it. People are still a little bit afraid.
Yeah.
In the jiu-jitsu community, no, I don't think there was ever really much of a fear thing going on there.
I think it was groups. You've got groups of people, right? Depending on what your family life is. Maybe you live with your parent who's like 70 years old, and you're like, oh, they're at risk, and they're telling me, oh man, I need to wear a mask all the time. Can't go outside. And I think if you go through something traumatic for that much time, depending on what your situation is at home, when everyone says it's okay, come out, everything's fine, it takes time, right?
It takes time. And I try to pull lessons from everywhere and utilize them in other things. So what I learned from jiu-jitsu and what I learned from actually learning how to learn, because I was a bit of a slow learner growing up, is I'm somebody that needs to really repeat something like hundreds of times for it to process. So like I would be doing like an armbar drill, and like I'd see after like 2 or 3 repetitions, the other guy's legs going up and this is going up, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, where does the left hand go again? I'm like writing notes. But I've taken that mentality now and putting it towards building this brand. Is I don't just put out an ad for a sale anymore. So like, for example, I have a sale going on right now. It's like, sorry, not a plug, but I now have to go and I'll put up the ad for the sale, and then I'll go into my email list and send out a blast email. Then I'll go and see who hasn't bought something in a while and be like, look, I haven't seen you in a while. We'll just let you know we're having a sale. And all of a sudden, like, you're seeing orders pop up, and people are like, often they're like, I'm good, or, oh my God, I didn't even think about this. Thank you for reminding me. So it's that grind mentality that I learned from like sports, jiu-jitsu, the gym. I'm using the gym now at this point. This is like it's my therapy. But
you have a full gym set up at home.
I do. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, I had a full gym set up in my parents' house my entire life, and I didn't use it. It was there. I lived in the basement, and the gym was 2 doors down.
I never touched it.
I never touched it. I had no interest at all. But what I'm doing now is when I'm getting my head into a dark place, like I do post a lot of my workouts, you'll see like 2 or 3 days ago, I wasn't in a really good spot. You'll see one of these leg days where it's just like 700 reps. It sets a 25 with like moderately heavy weight with no breaks, with another one and another one. It's trying to push my brain to a point to go like, okay, we need to shut the brain off right now.
Right.
And I don't have the ability right now to drive out and have like guys lay on top of me and try to choke me for an hour. So I need to be able to sort of emulate that same type of feeling. And that's sort of where it gets to the point where like, I'll try to do a walking lunge at the end of my work, and it's one walking lunge and I'm stuck on the floor and I'm like, we're good. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. You made it there, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to recreate that struggle that you get in jiu-jitsu when someone's choking you out, or you need to escape, or someone's mounted you and like you got, you know, their chest on your face, and you're sweating. Like, man, this is the worst, and you can't breathe, and you're about to tap. It's almost impossible to recreate that. It's something different, but I think, you know, by doing something like you said, by doing like an enormous amount of reps and like really like bringing yourself to exhaustion, you're trying to kind of stimulate that feeling again, right? Of like, I gave everything I got. I couldn't give an ounce more.
There's nothing
right
left.
But a lot of people can't get to that point on their own too, right? Like you have that skill set, you train people, so you know what it is. But a lot of people don't have that skill to go to that end point and then go a little bit further.
Right.
I used to do these trainings called caveman trainings.
Sure.
It was when like functional training kind of started like exploding. This was maybe 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And they rented out this warehouse space. They had tires, they had sledgehammers, they had just all this random equipment. And you would go through these routines and go through these different stations. And when you were done, like you were done. They like purposely built these circuits so you wouldn't make it to the end.
Right.
If you made it to the end, it's because you're an exceptional human being, right?
Yeah.
Like physically, you're just above par. So they would purposely make it so you'd get to like, if there were 6 exercise stations, you'd get to 4 and you're like, there's no way I'm making it to 6, right? Those were fun because then someone was pushing you to go from station to station, was timing you. You were alone, but there was a group of people at different stations, so you're all kind of living the shittiness together.
Right.
So those were fun trainings. I really enjoyed that, and that's when I knew I was like, hey, this is kind of bringing me close to what jiu-jitsu's giving me, that push where I'm like, I can't get any further, right?
So what I do find is actually, I find everybody has the ability. I find that our brains, the second we feel like a little discomfort, most people will shut off.
Right.
And that's where if you're able to, and for example, I can take the situation of like I'm doing leg extensions, and if you've ever done a leg extension, at the end of the set, it is hell. Mm-hmm. So when you hit 15 and you're like, okay, there's nothing left, let's pull the pin out of the 120 pounds and let's drop it to 80 and let's see what we can do. It's the same thing when you're in jiu-jitsu. For me, it was never like I'm trying to win because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
But if I have a black belt on top of me with his chest on my face and I'm peering out underneath his chest and I see there's like 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock, I'm sitting here and going, okay, I'm going to take a second. I don't think I'm getting out of this position, but I want to survive this round and I don't want to get tapped. That's my goal. I'm not sweeping him and popping up and I'll be talking shit while I'm doing it. So I'm underneath, like I was underneath Phil once, who's incredible and he's a big, heavy guy. And I'm like, it feels like there's 10 pounds on top of me in here and he's pressing and he's crushing me. But for me to get myself into that headspace where while I'm in this struggle, I'm able to like laugh and be like, it feels like there's a big pile of shit on top of me right now. And he's fucking laughing. But it's, if you can't like take a breath when you're in that situation where the walls start to basically close on you and go like, hold on a minute. What can I do here to just give myself a little bit of space, work a little bit, and figure out a way out of this. Yeah. People panic, and that tap, or that I did my 12 reps, I'm done, they get off the machine and go take a 2-minute break. It's the same thing. Yeah,
they're just mental tapping, right? It's just their brain being like, hey, this is too much for me. Yeah. Like, time to shut off.
Same thing if you're running. You're like, oh my God, my legs are hurting after 2 kilometers. I'm going to walk. Or you can just keep running. Yeah. And if anybody who's run distance notices, like when you run a longer race, not the way you did it, but when you run a longer race, like the first 3 to 5 kilometers suck. And then you sort of get into your groove. Your legs don't hurt anymore. You'll bonk a couple of times and hit a wall, and you'll have your snacks with you and your food. But if you're able to push past that point of real discomfort, eventually your body adapts. But it's the brain that's telling you, stop, we're done, it hurts, go home. But we need to learn how to be like, okay, hold on, take a second. What am I doing right now? I'm just running. Same thing in Jiu Jitsu. Where am I right now? I know I feel a lot of pressure. I'm on my back. I'm trying to turn to my side so he doesn't flatten me out. I can put my hands underneath him, which may put me at risk for a bunch of other things, but I can free up some space and try to find and take a second to think, what can I do here to just make it a little bit better and continue?
Yeah.
And it's, for me, life is like that with this too. I mean, in building, sorry, I keep hitting your mic. In building the business, it's like after a crappy month, I don't know if anybody's been an entrepreneur, like one day you're taking over the world and the next day the walls are closing in on you. So it's having that ability to like be able to pull back on the good days and on the bad days and be like, okay, I sold for $2,000 today. This is my best day ever. Your brain goes, we're rich. Tomorrow it's going to happen again. And then the next day you sell for 50. And then you're like, the sky is falling. So it's having that ability to just slow down. And it's something we should work on in all facets of our life. I'm trying to work on it in more personal stuff too. And ride the waves, the good and the bad. Never get too high, never get too low. That's what I tell all my nutrition clients as well. I lost 5 pounds this week. Okay. Next week I put back on 2. And they're going, what the hell's going on? And I'm going, you lost 3 pounds in 2 weeks. That's pretty great. And they're like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. I'm like, because you're only looking at what's happening to you now. We're not looking at the whole trajectory of the situation. It's the same with everything. Like, you know, it's people.
And how are you building your brand right now? So you're like, hey, I want to get into supplement space. You're like, you know, start small, because you started with bars, right?
Yeah. So I started with bars. The reason that I made the bar was actually in between the jobs. I had like 2 weeks in between. I would always buy like Quest bars, and it's not to talk poorly about them, but they don't taste good for me, and I'm not one of these nutrition coaches that are like, don't eat this, don't eat that. I really believe more in inclusive nutrition. But when I'm looking at ingredients and I don't know what they are and I have to Google them and they're like corn starches and corn fibers and they're like bumping up the bars with all these fibers to like keep the calories down but the fiber up, and like people are having gastric issues with the bars. I really wanted to make a product that was sort of like something I would eat at a meal, but you didn't taste it. Like for most protein bars, you always have that kick on the back end. You can taste that, like that whey, or they often they're now using, because of course Splenda is bad now, so they're all using stevia and erythritol and all these more natural sweeteners. So they all have this like bitter aftertaste on the back end. So my goal was, how can I make this bar not taste like a protein bar? So that's our slogan. It's like the protein bar that doesn't taste like a protein bar. So I tinkered with it for about 2 weeks. And of course I beta tested it on my kids, and my kids loved it. So I'm like, if my kids like this and I've managed to put 21 grams of protein into this thing, it's good. So I started with that, and literally it was like as grassroots could be. I didn't have wrappers. I didn't have anything. I had an 8x8 brownie pan, 2 of them, one that I would use to press the other one down, and Ziploc bags and saran wrap. And I started messaging my friends. I'm like, come try these. And I would sell 1 and 2 and 3. So eventually I raised enough capital to get the bars wrappers going. So then we started to get wrappers. I was using up until like 3 months ago just to seal them, like a manual press, like a heat sealer. So I'm sitting here with a mountain of like 500 bars, and I'm just pressing them down one after, and it's taking me an hour to seal 500 bars. So now I've got like a belt sealer going, so you can just run them through it, so it goes quickly. But it's really, that's what's been the most humbling for me. It's been so grassroots. I haven't taken any investors' money yet. I'm looking into it now. I haven't taken any money out of the company. I actually had a partner who was a friend of mine, and we're still friendly, but I had to buy him out. So it was a lot of learning on the fly, but that's how I like to operate. People are telling me to go speak to this mentor. And again, I will take these meetings, but I like to learn by making mistakes. So I made mistakes with wrappers. I made mistakes with manufacturers of stuff.
You're trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure it out and learn for myself, because if I just go to someone that's going to tell me what to do, if I don't put my hands on it, I can't learn. So I'm still, as I tell people, I'm doing everything from marketing. I have somebody helping me with my Shopify store, because this is where I draw the line. But I'm making them, I'm packing them, I'm shipping them, delivering them, I'm going to meet the gyms. So that was my 2-prong approach that I wanted to do to basically build the brand out from just direct to consumer was, how do I spread this, and how do I then let these other places basically do free marketing for me without doing free marketing for me?
Yeah.
So my question is, one, this is a nutrition product. Who can I go to? I'm going to go to fitness.
Yeah.
And two, where can I put this where people have money and they're not afraid to spend it to take care of their employees?
Yeah.
So we're in fitness and we're in professional office space. Because
Makes sense.
A lot of the professional offices will have a budget for food where if you have accountants or lawyers or any professionals really in any business, rather than them giving them crappy snacks, if they spend a couple extra dollars and their employees are more productive, feel better, they're happy.
Yeah.
So I started to do that, and then all of a sudden now the business has 5x'd in the past couple of months. So the next stage is now, how do we get this to 5x again, or 10x? So I've transformed my garage into a commercial kitchen space. I have like a whole operation, but I've now contacted somebody. I'm going to be moving probably within 2 months into a real commercial space.
Okay.
With walk-in fridges and walk-in freezers with racks. Okay. So you can make thousands of bars in a day.
Okay. So you're basically renting out the facility and then using
Correct.
it for your own stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going to take somebody and get them to help me, because I can't grow this to the next level if I'm continually making
you can't do everything.
Bars.
Right?
You can't do everything. So that's where it's at now. I've had 3 really good months in a row now. So the money is coming in. The repeat business, the direct to consumer, I have about an 80% retention rate, which is really high for all the products. The creatine just came out. So, I mean, it's been a week. Creatine's creatine.
Creatine is creatine, right?
As long as it doesn't clump, which is why you go for the micronized monohydrate. But
have cocaine in it.
But what I've realized also, and again, I can't compete with the big box stores, but if I find an angle, I'm not going to exploit to make $5.
Yeah.
So the price of creatine has come down a lot. During COVID, creatine was like $20, and then all of a sudden it was $80, and we were all sitting here going, what's happening?
Yeah.
So the price is back down. So my creatine, this for 80 servings is like $32. They're on special in the big stores, 2 for $80. So, and I'm offering 15% off on top of it right now.
So your price point's good.
My price point's good. The quality is good, but I'm sitting here going like, how much money are these people making?
Yeah.
You know, like, and they are. And everyone's getting paid. The store's getting paid. The company's getting paid.
For a container like that for protein, I was buying ISO protein, and it was costing me, I think it was $86, if I'm not mistaken, for that size container.
Yeah.
That's a plus tax.
Plus tax.
Right.
So I've got these guys here listed now. And again, everything's Canadian made. So it's top quality. It's lab tested, Health Canada approved. I've got this regular price at $62.99 plus tax, and I'm giving everybody, I mean, if you come on my website, there's a welcome bonus. We have a sale at 15% going. So there's always, the 62 will be 55. Yeah. And people take it home and they'll be like, I mixed it in milk with a spoon. Like, you don't even have to shake it. So these are the things, I don't want to put something out that I don't trust, which, again, a lot of the times you go to the store, so you can't try it.
Right.
So I'll also sell on my website or give out free bars and samples. I want people to taste it, because I know if they get their hands on it,
then you know you're good.
They're going to buy it.
Yeah.
So rather than somebody going to like one of these big box stores and buying a 2-pound container for $100 tax in and being like, this tastes like shit, I'll offer a sample on my website. I mean, all they have to do is message me and I'll send them a free one. But you can buy a $2 scoop off the website. If you're ordering bars or whatever it is, I'll just throw it in. Yeah. Or if somebody just shoots us a message on Instagram, they'll be like, your product looks really good, because they're just send me your address, I'll send you something. Like, it's no problem. I'm not looking to like make every dime off of everything here. It's also a small investment for a big return afterwards, because if you get a client, you get a client for life. That's what my model's to be here.
Now it's I think the biggest issue that we see with, and I'm living it right now, you know, I've been reaching out to different online stores and being like, hey, trying to get my hands, like, they're not even online stores, they're websites that sell products, and there's no shop. But it's, if you're interested, contact us, and there's a form to fill out, and then no one gets back to you.
Of course not.
Like, you don't hear, right? Yeah. I'm on hold for 40 minutes trying to get a hold of Hydro Quebec for whatever reason. I'm calling my cell phone company and it's an hour on hold because they just don't have enough people working. So the fact that you're invested in this full time, I mean, people are getting good service too, and you're actually going to get an answer from the guy, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if, again, when I'm telling people is like, if you're messaging the Instagram page, you're talking to me.
Right.
If you're messaging my personal Instagram page, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm shipping with next day shipping via UPS for less money than the other stores are charging you for throwing it in Canada Post or Pure Later or whatever it may be. It's just that my goal is the service. And if I have a problem with the service, it's on me. So that's why I go and tell everybody, like, if there's an issue, it's my fault. Yeah. If it's really good, it's my fault.
Yeah.
But I want to be, which is, again, why I'm having the mental issue in moving away and allowing somebody in to help me. I don't like taking responsibility off of myself. I will still have to take responsibility for an employee.
And you want to keep the standards just as high.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, it's on you, right? Even if you have somebody else working for you.
So like if somebody calls me and they're like, the last batch was like stickier than normal or whatever it might be, I'll be like, just give me your address. I'll send you another one. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to lose business or like take my name and sully it for $20. And I think if I can build this into a bigger business, but have that personalized touch where it's me and maybe another person or two, but I want people to start to, which is again, something I'm going to work on now, is to get to know the person behind it. It's not the brand. A brand's a brand. Once you buy a brand and you like it, I keep hitting your microphone. Once you buy a brand and you like it, you're brand loyal generally for life.
Yeah.
So it's more people going like, this is made by like an average guy who's got a really good story, who overcame all these things over his life, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I had this really difficult life. I know a lot of people who've had it a lot worse than I have, but who overcame 100+ pound weight loss, who overcame being picked on, who overcame disordered eating patterns that came there after this, who overcame job loss in his late 30s. Yeah. These are things that, we just brush over, and I just brush over them because I've developed this mentality to always just try to find something. If this isn't working, to hustle and work on something else. But when people hear this, they go, holy shit. Like, do you understand what you've done? Like, you've built a 6-figure business out of thin air in evenings and mornings while working a full-time job with a family, with a mortgage. They're going like, this is incredible. And I'm just sitting here going like, I don't even see it.
Yeah. Like, as you grow, the challenge will be, I still want that story to be somewhat relevant.
Yes.
But as you grow, sometimes someone just wants a protein bar.
Right. Exactly. So we're going to have
sometimes I'm just hungry.
We're going to have that protein bar. I mean, and again, the issue that we have with the bars, it's not an issue. It's most places.
It has to be refrigerated, right?
It has to be refrigerated. It's shelf stable for 8 days.
Have you thought about doing a dry bar?
If I'm going to do it, my goal is to build this up with this, and I'm going to start to bring in some more products as well as the time goes along. It's just a matter of getting the money in to do some pre-workouts and stuff. But again, it needs to be something that I've tried, and that I don't want to buy a pre-workout where you take a scoop of it and then like you feel like your skin's crawling.
Yeah, right.
I want to have like a nice clean energy and a mental focus through the workout. And then at the end of the workout, I don't feel like I need to go have another one because I'm crashing. So it's, I'm going to build the brand to that point. And then I can start to look to find another product that I can co-pack. Because if I have the name out there and I can trust that the co-packer is going to use a recipe or something that I'm confident that they will ship me, let's say 100,000 units of my product, and it's going to be union standard, like the perfect way that I want it, I'll look into that. Until then, I'll just grow it out one product at a time. I have a pancake batter coming out in 2 to 3 weeks. I'm just waiting on the artwork. Okay. And again, it's me just looking. And for anybody who's looking to start a business, it's to find something that's lacking and create a need for it. So there's plenty of protein pancake mixes out there. I mean, there's the 2 big ones. I don't need to mention the names, but one is in Costco right now, and it's really, really sweet.
I'm not even aware of this.
Yeah. And
I know it exists, but I'm not aware of the brand.
And the other one was in Costco before, and it tastes more like a regular pancake, but there's no protein in it. It's like 6 grams. So I'm sitting here going, now, how do I take this same mentality? How do I pop, like, if you're going to make like a large pancake? 25
grams or?
I think a large pancake's 20.
20?
But how do I get 20 grams in and load it with fiber and not taste the protein powder?
Right.
Well, again, tinkering with the powder, mixing it in, adding ingredients that the other ones don't put in because, quite frankly, their goal is always profit.
Right.
Business, you want to make money, but I could very easily be like, okay, I'm putting protein powder and whole wheat flour and flax seeds that are crushed up, which are really inexpensive, and baking powder, and throw it in a bag and be like, here, bang, Power for All chocolate pancakes. And I'm sitting here going like, why don't any of these protein powders have chia seeds in them, or basil seeds, which is a new thing now, which are like loaded with protein and fiber, because they're expensive. But they're charging $15.99 for a bag that's costing them $2.99 to produce. I can charge $15 or $16.99 for a bag that's costing me $9 to produce, and the quality is 10 times better.
Right.
And it doesn't taste like stevia, and it doesn't it's more of like working on a smaller, and then afterwards, once it's built, then you can start to source ingredients in mass quantities and bring your costs down. But I'll bring my costs down on the sale.
Yeah.
I have my fixed margin that I want to make. I don't want to make 300%. You know, like I was having a discussion with somebody over the weekend too, and she's like, why don't you use glyphosate-free this and organic peanut butter? And I just like, I'm sitting listening, because again, I always like to hear people's opinions, and I don't think anybody wants to buy a $10 protein bar.
Right.
Like, you know, $5 is like a cap,
$5.
It's a cap limit for it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, for some people it's a meal, for some people it's a snack.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the powder. Like, nobody wants to make their morning smoothie and it costs them $12 to have breakfast. Like, you want 2 scoops of protein or 1 scoop of protein, dependent on your goals, and you want it to be like, okay, that cost me like $3.50, and I'm loaded with like berries and oats and protein, whatever I put in it. I'm good for 4 or 5 hours. I can go to work now. So that's where I find that the nutrition field is going now, and it's the same thing. We can circle it back to everything else. Everybody's trying to fine tune everything before fixing the basics.
Yeah.
So I hear people doing like all these diet things, like multiple day fasting and you know, like ice baths, and all these things are great. But like, if your basics are shit,
you need everything. Everything has to be together. Yeah.
It's like going to the supplement store and buying like glutamine and creatine, but you don't lift weights.
Yeah.
You eat poorly.
Yeah.
Like, I told somebody I was speaking to recently, they're giving me this whole spiel about doing this and making sure they're eating this. And I'm sitting here going, but you eat like garbage and you drink alcohol. So for me, that's like, let's fix the easy thing first, and then let's worry about like fine tuning how long your fast is, and like you're meditating in the sauna. These are all great things, but like, let's eliminate the basics first. Let's fix the structure of the pyramid before we start to try to work at the stuff at the top of the pyramid. But it's not sexy.
It's like getting on testosterone and not working out.
Right. Right.
Are you still on TRT?
I am still on TRT.
Okay, because you went off, didn't you, for a while?
I tried to.
Okay.
I actually recently tried to go off. I'm on a very small amount. I think, are you still on it as well?
Yeah, I'm still on it. It's been 3.5 years now.
You feel great?
Yeah. Nothing has changed. I'm on 1 ml a week.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's what I'm on as well. But what I've done now is, because I've been doing some research, is
you're splitting it.
I'm splitting it, and instead of intramuscularly injecting it, now we're starting to inject it subcutaneous, which is less painful and easier. So what this does, from what I've read now, is that it slows the release. So you don't have, I don't know if you would experience this, but I would take my shot, let's say on a Friday. By Sunday, like, my energy's top. And then by like Wednesday, I sort of start to like,
for sure. Bit. Which is what it does. You get that peak, right? And then it drastically comes down. That's why they suggest to split it into 2 doses.
So it's got a 7-day half-life. What the subcutaneous slows the absorption, because you're injecting it into body fat, not right into muscle. So it sort of sits there for a little bit. So it comes out a little bit more slowly. The needle's tiny, which is nice. And I really find that's been helping me quite a bit. But I did try to go off. I went 21 days with nothing, and like, it was bad. I was back to, I woke up in the morning, my body was hurting, my back was hurting.
Did you do blood tests after going off of it?
I didn't, because I don't have the insurance to cover it right now, and I'm in here to get an appointment to get a blood test. If I made it, I'm getting it in June. Right. So I have an appointment in June, but again, like, you have to time your blood test. You have to make sure it's 10 days after your shot, or whatever it is, to make sure you're back down to baseline.
I was splitting it. I'm back to just doing 1 shot a week. I had split it because, like, I had read that it was better. And then when I talked to our doctor, he said, split it if you want. Because I asked him, I said, can I? Like, I read that it's probably better. He's like, you can. I was like, okay. And then I started doing that. But then I was feeling kind of off. Like maybe it was like more, that spike lasted a little longer, which is normal. So I was like, let's just go back to the 1 a week. So I'm back to the 1 a week, and it's still, I'm fine. I got my blood work done 2 months ago. And my testosterone actually took a little dip down.
Right.
So, I mean, not dip down from when before I even got on TRT, but it was a little lower than 6 months ago.
Okay.
So he asked me, he's like, do you want to up your dose? He's like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel fine. Like I feel the same as I did before. Yeah. He said, so emotionally you're good, physically you're good, you're recovering, asked me a whole slew of questions. Yeah. And he's like, it's up to you. He's like, it dipped a little bit, not enough to do a big jack in your dose, but he's like, if you feel the same and you're still happy and everything is good, he's like, I wouldn't change anything. I'd leave the way it is, which I have. So
I find it's still such a taboo topic because it's the same compound that bodybuilders will use as the baseline for a steroid protocol. Right. But whereas you're taking like
the dose is so small,
you're taking 15 ml and bringing in other compounds. But again, like I have a friend of mine who, he's like, I'm tired all the time. And I was like, go get your stuff checked out. Yeah. So he went to his regular doctor, and the doctor was like, you're good. Everything looks great.
They don't have the skill set, right?
So he sends me the blank sheet, and I literally just checked boxes. I'm like, go check these before going to see our doctor, because you don't want to go to him and then have to go back if you can avoid it, and then do the bloods and then go back again. It's expensive. It's private. Yeah. And he gets the blood work done, and he goes to see our doctor, and the doctor goes, what the hell is this? And the doctor freaked. He goes, and your doctor just said you're fine? He's like, well, he didn't check these things. He's like, but we checked your blood. Everything looks normal, and you're still telling your doctor you feel horrible, and they're not reacting. Yeah. His testosterone was like close to zero. His free testosterone was close to zero. His estrogen was high. So everything was off. Right. And now all of a sudden, like he's on this. I'm actually waiting to see how he's feeling, because like it's been 2 weeks now. But this is something that's very common, and no one talks about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the doctors are so scared to prescribe it. I think like the general practitioner is so scared to prescribe it. I don't think they then want to be known as the guy, right? I'm the doctor that will prescribe it. I mean, that's technically why you need to go see a specialist on it. And it's better. I'd rather pay private and have a guy like educated in this 100% and is keen up to date with science and medicine and could read my blood work and my lab results and actually tell me what's good and what's bad than just someone, you know, giving it to, like, I have a general doctor. So we just got a family doctor. We were on a waiting list for 9 years. Wow. We finally got a family doctor. So very hard to get a hold of, but and an appointment will be a month and a half from now. Right. But we still can say that we have a family doctor. Yeah. Sometimes I'll talk to her about blood work and that I want to check certain things like sugar levels and all this stuff. And she's kind of like, why do you want to do that? It's like, well, I want to know. Yeah. It's like, thanks for asking me why, but at the end of the day, I just want to know where I'm at. Yeah. I actually, when I wasn't able to get an appointment with my family doctor, I booked an online appointment it's a random clinic. Mm-hmm. I pay like $15 a month. I can go online and I could book a doctor's appointment for the next day or the day after. And it's basically a walk-in clinic. So I went to this walk-in clinic because I couldn't get a hold of my family doctor, and I wanted to get my blood work done. So just like general blood work, right? Outside of like TRT spectrum, right? Minerals, vitamins, all that fun stuff. And he was adamant to not give me a referral to go get blood work done. He was asking me 1,000,001, not good questions, just like why do you want to check it? Do you feel bad? And was just asking me all this stuff that all I wanted was just blood work done, right, so I could see if everything is normal. Yeah. At the end of the day, I was there for maybe 30 minutes. And at the end, I was like, I honestly have no more time. I have to get back to work. Now, you could choose to give me a referral so I can just check general blood work, right, just to make sure that everything is safe and everything is leveled. And if you don't do that, I have someone that I pay privately. But right, I'd rather come and just, you literally just have to give me a piece of paper. He got frustrated, literally took a paper and just
checked off the boxes,
gave it to me. He's like, see you later. And it was so frustrating because it's like, I'm paying for a service to come see you.
Right.
You're working technically for us.
Right.
I'm not asking you to prescribe me medication. All I want is a piece of paper so I can go check my blood work to make sure that I am healthy, and maybe there's something that I'm not doing, and maybe a supplement that I could buy at the pharmacy. Maybe I could buy some vitamin D or boost my vitamin C, and you won't even give me the piece of paper. It was crazy.
But this brings us into a whole other area of problem right now with, and again, I'm not a doctor,
Right.
but when you go to a doctor and they start to see issues, they don't ask you questions about fixing them like by yourself.
Yep.
The immediate response is, okay, let's put you on X.
That's what before you referred me to your doctor for the TRT. That's exactly what happened. I went to go see a general practitioner. I didn't see my family doctor. It was just some random, I told him, I said, my mood is off. I'll listen to a song and like,
emotional.
I'll get super emotional and like, this is not normal. So I told him all these things. And he prescribed me an antidepressant.
Right.
That's when I told you, and I was like, hey, don't you have a private doctor that I can go see, because this is what happened. Yeah. And I literally took the bottle. I went to my pharmacy and I just gave them bottles like, you could toss this out, you can throw it out. I'm not the type of person to even like trickle in that. I have no interest whatsoever. Right. But everyone's so quick to just give you a pill and be like, see if this works.
Right. And that's the thing. I know that they work because I know people that use them in part of a healthy lifestyle to help balance anxiety and depression, and I'm all for them. The problem that I have is if I'm going to the doctor, I want the doctor to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power first to ensure that
there might be
a chemical imbalance. There could be a life event going on right now, that there could be a sickness in the family or a death in the family that, you know what, right now it's just too much. I'm doing my exercise, I'm eating well, I'm trying my best, it's not helping. Let's try this.
Yep.
Whatever the case may be. But you go to the doctor, they don't ask you what your diet is. They don't ask you if you exercise. The ones that do are few and far between. Mine does. He's an old friend of mine. He's fantastic. Probably because he trains. So that's like, he gets it. But it's like a pill mill. So you go in, blah, 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 you're pre-diabetic. Okay, bang. Here's metformin. You're a little bit overweight right now. Here's Ozempic. This is the new one right now.
Right.
And I'm sitting here going like, do we know what the long-term implications of any of this stuff is for 35-year-olds to be taking injectable diabetes medication to bring their weight down?
Yeah. You got to find somebody who will listen to you. And it's hard. And if you go to see a doctor and your doctor is clearly just treating you as a number and trying to get you out as quickly as possible, you need to go see another doctor. Yeah. In January, of this year, so I had grandmother pass away, grandfather pass away, uncle pass away right before Christmas.
It's a lot.
In January, in November, I got my black belt. During all this chaos, I was like, headspace was not even there. I felt like I couldn't even appreciate that moment when it did happen. Yeah. In January, I started getting this crazy pelvic pain, unbearable, like crippling, where I would sometimes have to sit down. I couldn't even bend down forward, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm thinking about my grandmother and my grandfather, my uncle, who just sporadically from one day to the next, they were like, you have 90 days. You have cancer.
Pancreatic?
Okay. Pancreatic, then spread. It turned out a week later he died.
Right.
It just happened too quick, right? That's going through my head.
You're
I'm
freaking
like,
out now,
shit, I'm feeling pain. Shit, what about me? It's a family thing now and this and that. So I booked an appointment with our doctor. Yeah. I was like, this is not normal. I'm gonna go see him. So I book an appointment. I go see him. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, pain here. It's literally in this moment. I'm feeling it. I bend down. It hurts. This and that. Blah blah blah. He gives me an exam. Asks me a bunch of questions. He gives me a referral to a pelvic specialist. Just going to see him and him listening to me and me explaining what's been going on. He gave me my first finger up the bum test, by the way.
Muzzle test.
But by the way, I was not expecting. I just wanted to go and make sure like everything was good. Next thing I know, he's
go.
all in.
Your prostate's been examined.
But he's like, I just did you're good. Stop freaking out. You're good. But you know what? Let's go send you for an ultrasound. Why not? He's like, if it'll put you at ease, go do the ultrasound. I'll call you and let you know when I get the results, what's going on. He's like, I'm pretty sure everything's good, but let's do it anyways, right? I go do the ultrasound literally days later. A week later, he calls me, everything's fine. But during all this time where I'm like getting the test, I finish my appointment with him, pain went away.
Of course, because someone's listening to you.
Everything.
The exact same thing happened the last time I was
physical pain.
Gone.
Physical pain disappeared. Literally a week later.
Yeah. And last time I was here, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't think we even spoke about it, but I was getting these headaches and blurred vision for months. I would have headaches for 8 hours at a time, always in the same spot on the right side of my head here. I'd finish a very hard workout. It still happens a little bit. I'd get blurred vision. I went to go see my doctor, my family doctor, but again, it's a childhood friend of mine. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I can't get this migraine to go away. My vision in my eyes blurred. I've had my eyes checked. My eyes are fine. I'm freaking out. They said maybe I have MS. They freaked me out at the thing. And he just goes, calm down. I'm giving you a requisition for an MRI. We're going to go do an MRI in 1 or 2 days on your brain just to be sure. And just having that, let's actually look at it. It was gone. I got the MRI done. Of course, they gave me the CD, which was a horrible idea.
Right.
I'm cross image searching on Google. I had brain cancer. I had 15 different diagnoses in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the pain went away. Now, if I push too hard, I get it. It's post-concussion syndrome. That's what it is. When you've had too many concussions or been hit in the head too many times, eventually, your brain tells you to slow down a little bit.
But someone just taking the time to listen and be like, hey, let's calm down. Let's look at this. And not everybody has that resource, which, I mean, everyone has access to a private resource, but it's not cheap. No. You're spending a few $100 for an appointment. Yeah. You got to go do the blood work. You then have to book another appointment, a few $100 to go sit down and go through the results. Because technically that's typically you'd go sit down with your doctor. Right. But if something is that bad to the point where you're like, I'm physically in pain or I can't do it anymore, there's ways. You got to, for sure, you got to find a way.
But this is also what I do with my coaching. When somebody comes to me and says I need to lose weight, I don't just go, okay, here's a 1,200 calorie a day diet like most of these other programs do. I go, let's talk, because I want to know what's going on. And the first question I'll ask somebody is, do you have a family history of disordered eating, or have you been exposed to diets since you were young? And the person's like, no, I don't think so. My mom put me on Weight Watchers when I was 6. And I go, oh, okay. So are we good on time?
Yeah, we have another 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I'm sitting here going so you've been yo-yo dieting for 30 years. Your metabolism is probably, and I'm not going to be one of these people to be like, I could fix your metabolism for you with a gut protocol. I'm not one of these. But let's try something crazy. Let's try eating food and lifting weights and walking and doing the things that your body wants. And you're going to gain a little bit of weight at the beginning, but your body is now going to be primed to lose the weight when it's ready to. Yeah. What you've been doing for 25 or 30 years is not working, but it becomes like everything else we spoke about. They don't want the patience. Yeah. It's going to take you a year to lose the 30 pounds. I want the injection now. I want it gone now. And that's the problem society I find in all facets of, they want to turn the brand into the $1 million brand in 6 months because you saw this local bar company do it, but you don't know the backstory. Yeah. You saw a cover athlete all jacked. You don't know the backstory, it's focusing on ourselves and learning to take 5 seconds and be patient and understand that you've gained 30 pounds over 15 years. You're not going to lose it in 12 weeks. Yeah. And if you do, it's coming back. Yeah. And it's coming back with extra, and you're going to do it again and again. And this is what people do. It's the same thing with everything else. It's grind through it slowly and be patient. And if you can't, you're probably not going to get the results that you want. Yeah. And whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it all the time. People saying, yeah, that sounds great, but how do I do it faster?
Yeah, how do I get my purple belt in 3 months? You don't.
It just doesn't happen.
You don't, unless you're going to classes 3 times a day, every single day. Yeah. You can't. And your body breaks down. It's learn, absorb, and continue. That's just life in general, but no one wants to do it anymore. It's fast-paced.
Shout out all your social media and Power for All website.
Power for All protein bars, powder, creatine, pancake mix coming soon. On Instagram, it's at Power for All Protein, PWR4ALL, and protein. If you can't spell that, we got a problem. And my personal, which I do personal training, nutrition coaching, life coaching, and personal development, and naturopath as well, is at Beef Training on Instagram. I don't really respond much anywhere else, so Instagram's the way to reach me. And thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Awesome, man.
You've been listening to Let's Talk Jiu Jitsu with Raymond Terrence. Go follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Turn on notifications and press that like button. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the mats.